So, welcome to the June 13th edition of the Wednesday virtual meetup for the Coast Division. Today, we're actually doing something special. We're doing a all PCR event, and I have a little dog here who's complaining because she's not getting some breakfast with me. Anyway, we're doing a special event which is called Modeling on the Coast. So that's what we're going to do this evening. But before we do that, a couple of just quick comments. I wanted to make a comment about Brian Booth. I wanted to talk about some upcoming events, and I wanted to then move into the modeling on the coast. So wanted to very quickly make sure everyone was aware, Brian Booth, a longtime PCR NMRA member, regular at conventions, both our conventions, the narrow gauge conventions, occasionally national conventions. One of the guys who built the N-scale layout of the San Ramon Valley that has toured a number of facilities in that area on the East Bay. He actually passed away last week. He was also an auto racer and enthusiast. So, our feelings are with his family and going forward. So, that very unfortunate. Couple of just upcoming events. The Coast Auction is June 28th. So mark that on your calendar. If you haven't been before, it's a great opportunity to come. We do need volunteers. I'll be sending out a note about looking for volunteers. It turns out Jim won't be able to come, so we need someone to be responsible for handing out the tickets at the auction. If we don't get volunteers, this probably will be the last one we'll do because we can't get people to volunteer. It's very hard to go ahead and have these things. And the NMRA convention is coming up July 27th to August 2nd, I believe. So anyway, that kind of brings us to the group. We got a good group today because we have something exciting, which is we're going to do modeling on the coast. So with that kind of in mind, just kind of look around the group. Got a great group. I'm going to go ahead and share some slides, and we'll go ahead and hang on. Let me change the slides that I've got here, and there we go. Hang on. So we're going to do modeling. We're going to start with modeling on the coast now. So this is our segment, modeling on the coast, and we didn't get a lot of input this week. So I'm going to go through something real quickly, and then Earl's got a few slides. I think that's going to kind of be it for this week. So I'm going to start off with myself. So this is going to be a fairly quick, let me spotlight this there so it's the right place. It's going to be a discussion about a car I built. So one of the things that kind of have a coincidence of things coming together, I'm trying to build my layout out for operations, so I need a number of cars. I also decided one of the certificate of cars and locomotives I'm going to focus on for the AP is cars. So started off by looking at the first car that I was going to build, which is actually a beat car. So I'm modeling Spreckles area, the area from basically Salinas up to Watsonville down to Monterey. And one of the big things there is beets. So I'm going to do a beet loading facility. You kind of see what those look like here. And I needed to have some beet cars. So I decided the thought process was, let me see if I can 3D print a beet car. Because if I can do that, then I can replicate it and I can make a number. Because I figure I need to have somewhere either 12 or 16 of these. So it's not something where you're just building one or two. So trying to scratch build individual ones with individual parts would become quite complex and time consuming. So I started off by designing a frame. So started with the plans, started with the plans here of the frame. You can kind of see those in the upper left. I thought that was a great boxcar kit plans. I actually measured it, matches pretty well with some of the Carter Brother cars as well. It's got a basically a center truss rod setup. And so I actually just did the same thing, laid it out this is in FreeCAD, and laid out the whole frame. So it prints as a single print, starting from the print deck on the bottom. If you look on the bottom part, that'll print up. and it prints pretty well in filament with zero point 0.4 micron or 0.4 millimeter head and using 0.10 height. So it gives you a really good, pretty good frame. And then what I do is designed all the other parts. So, essentially these are the parts, the back, the two end plates, the two side plates, the center spreaders. There were a couple of those. And then I designed these little spreader ramps. They're inside to spread the beats out. But more importantly, they gave me a place, as you're going to see, to put a weight. So essentially, these are all the pieces printed. I originally, if you look on the upper right, you can see I was thinking about putting those board extensions. Some of the pictures had some board extensions, but I decided they were too fragile. So I decided to just go for the ones at the bottom, and that's what you'll see in the model. So this is the model put together with the pieces just all kind of pressed together. I ended up super gluing right here and up here at the top. And brought those two together to bring the thing together and finalize it. Then I just touched up the paint on the top. These are those spreaders inside. You can see they actually look pretty good. The layering of the 3D printer actually almost looks like like the grain and boards. And I bought these fishing weights. I think they're pretty nice. They're actually about a half an ounce. So it's a pretty good amount of weight to put in. So you put in 4 of these, and that's 2 ounces of weight in a car, which for an ON30 car works out pretty well. The one comment as your 3D printer is when I first started printing these, I ended up getting this nice start line. So each layer was starting along this nice line, which was being generated automatically by the slicer, which I use the Cura slicer. So you can use Z-seam alignment and seam corner preference. And what I've done is I've moved those start lines to where you see here, where they start where the whites are. So you now get a roof without that line across it. And that's what makes our this spreader that looks nice. And you then can put the weight inside. So this is kind of a picture blown up a little bit of how those spreaders look inside. And you can see what's interesting about this. This is where the supports were. So it's kind of rough on the back, but it actually looks like almost like wood. And on the front here, these dots, these are just a dot of filament to represent the fasteners that would have been at these places. And when you look at it, it actually looks pretty good. You actually don't realize that how small these things are. So the final thing was, wanted to do some underbody detail. So I needed some brake rigging. And so I decided to actually, again, 3D print those. So turned out that I had to make a fairly short brake cylinder setup here. This is the piece that goes on it with a piece of brass rod. This is kind of the spreader on one end. This is the pivot point on the other end. And this is designed to carry the brake line and cover it up. So when you actually look at it, this is what the underside brakes look like. You see that these are actually brass rods that go in here for the truss rods. And then this is the brake system going in, and you can kind of see it there. And so in the end, that was the car. And I thought it came out really well. And now I just need to build like 12 or 15 more. So I think I'll close off with that. And any questions before I throw it over to Earl?
I think the car looks great, Phil.
Thanks. No, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It did really well. I think it got 110 points, which was quite nice for a, it is because it really does fit the characteristics of a scratch built car, even though it's all 3D printed and it can be replicated at reasonable volume. And the paint, by the way, is just Rust-Oleum. I just pretty much use for everything I've been doing the Rust-Oleum red primer. It's a great boxcar paint, and when you go ahead and weather it up, it ends up being a pretty good looking paint job. And what's interesting is these are just 3D printed into the with the 3D printer, so they're just basically blocks of filament. But even when you look at it reasonably up close, it looks really good. And then these are actually some NBWs that are on the end of where the rivets would be, or the rods would be, that go over, so supporting the bolsters. Anyway,
let me ask you a silly detail question. First of all, this is absolutely exquisite. I'm really very impressed. What are you going to use for beats?
So I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm thinking at this point I may take brown rice and try coloring it. Cook it so it's wet, and then put it into some water with ink stains. And I don't know, does anybody have any pictures of sugar beets? I got to get a color picture of a sugar beet and look at what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Is
the spice department in the supermarket probably your best bet to find something similar.
Yeah, that's true. What I got to do is I got to get some pictures and then just go look in the spices and look and say,
Yeah.
is there anything here you can color? Like I said, the cool thing about rice is, you get a certain size. If you think about it in O scale, a quarter of an inch is a foot. So, I'm assuming a sugar beet is going to be like this big around, 9 inches in diameter. So that's almost a foot. So, if you think about it, about a piece of rice that's 3/16 of an inch, it works out just about right. So if I can get the coloring right, that might work.
The only concern I have about using cooked rice, even if you're painting it, is critters.
That's true.
I've had to have used organic things, food pieces, and all of a sudden, magically, you've got rat droppings on the top of your layout and
That's
that
true.
sort of stuff. So it's just I don't know, what the story is, but that's something to keep in mind.
Yep. No, you're right.
I agree with Earl, by the way. The spice department is an interesting place. If you go up there and with a picture and say, "Let me see, does this look like a sugar beet?"
Right. Well, walk around Michael's a little bit too.
Yeah,
So.
and the good news, Phil, is nobody knows what a sugar beet looks like. So if you tell them that's what it is, they'll believe you.
Yeah, that's West Coast sugar beet.
Are sugar beets round?
I thought they were oblong.
No, if they were round, you could
Color
use
is more
BBs.
important. I would bet color is more important to most people than exactly how round or oblong, because they don't know what they are, but I bet you they have an idea that they're a deep red.
Well, yeah. The other thing here, yeah, I showed a picture of this when we had an event last mine on the coast. I did a warehouse and I needed to do strawberries. I bought these really tiny, I think they're like 0.6 millimeter beads. They're tiny beads and they look red. So there may be some beads that are the right color and size too. That's actually an interesting idea because maybe they are rounder. Like I said, I've got to go look at some pictures. You know what? Having this long-term discussion about sugar beets where we could probably look at some pictures doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to throw this over to Earl.
No, absolutely.
And Earl's got a few slides, and then we can just have an open discussion about sugar beets for the rest of the time. So, Earl, go ahead, take her away.
Okay, so when we did the last modeling with on the coast, I talked about doing 3D printed brick streets for my layout. And I kind of left it that I finally got the print to work and was able to put the rails in. So today's just a quick update on where I ended up. So this is kind of blown up in what it looks like. What isn't obvious is that the surface is really rough. On the 3D printers, it prints each of these little bricks individually. Then the head kind of picks up and moves to the next brick. So you end up all these little artifacts sticking up. And it's really not a smooth brick surface like you'd want. And I initially thought about sanding it, but the problem when you sand this stuff is it all kind of mushes together and you lose the crispness and you lose the spacing between the bricks. And I didn't want to lose the crispness. So I did what I normally do when these things come up is I go down to the garage and got my Red Devil paint scraper that you guys all have hidden away somewhere. And I just scraped the surface. And what that did is it definitely knocked off all the high points and it tore out a bunch of bricks. And as far as I was concerned, that was great because I want a kind of a weathered brick street anyways. So tearing out some bricks actually helped. And then I sat down and glued it all onto a long strip of masonite, just with epoxy, and put in the rails. And this is, first pass before weathering, but the seams all but disappear. You can see a little bit of one at the bottom right corner, but once I got everything painted and weathered, it looks like just a continuous brick street. So that's kind of where I ended up. Bill, back to you.
Earl, that looks great. Question is, how are you going to make sure you've got enough room around the rail for the for running trucks?
Oh, the flangeways and all that? Yeah, that was in the last presentation. I talked about that for a bit. It took a lot of different test prints to get a deep enough flangeway. So
Okay.
it definitely does. And I've run a locomotive on it numerous times, and it is deep enough, but it was hard with some of the cross sections because I didn't want to have big gaps around the rails. So the rails are really embedded deep in the street.
But that's one of the nice things about doing it as 3D printed versus trying to do it with plaster is, you can make it accurate with a 3D printer.
Yeah. Phil, I need to leave. I need to start.
Yep, you need to head over. So thanks, Earl. Appreciate it.
Okay. You may want to mention the Bob Brown sale before you sign off.
So the Bob Brown sale, continues today. There's more stuff there. There is quite a bit of interesting HO stuff. If anybody's interested, there's a whole HO steel mill, the Walther steel mill, which would be a great HO kit for someone for a club or something if they're looking for a large industry. But there are a bunch of HO kits. There's still some tools left. Definitely a lot of O stuff left.
I was very impressed by the photo that showed up about the status of the shelves. I mean, if I could ever have anything looked that neat, let alone, there's got to be tons of stuff there that's worth a trip over.
Yeah, Charlie just brought 2 bankers boxes yesterday of HO structures and kits. There's some fine scale miniature kits. There's a bunch of good odds and ends for HO. And there's also a handful of N scale rolling stock and odds and ends too. So lots of goodies.
Yeah, it's worth a trip. It's and it's unfortunate because now a bunch of chunks are gone, right? Because we were able to yesterday take out the lime kiln, and we've kind of tried to keep that as a piece as part of the CCC and figure out something to do with it. And then the when you came up at the top of the stairs, if you turn immediately left, there was a big mill, a big mine complex, and Seth Abrams actually took that, and he's going to put it on a module, so that'll actually kind of continue to be a something that people can go see. So it's good. And then there are a bunch of pieces the San Diego Model Railroad Club's going to take. So yeah, it'll be. Hopefully, the pieces will live on. But it's an amazing amount of stuff because what Bob did was, if you were a manufacturer and you sold into the narrow gauge community, which is a big chunk of manufacturers, you sent your kits to Bob and hoped Bob or Charlie would build them and they would be featured in the magazine. And so he just built the kits as they came. And I ended up buying 5 buildings. Because I figure, I put them in and use them, and then if I want to build my own, I can replace them. But in the interim, they're nice buildings. He did a good job on building things.
It was astounding, that layout, how nice it was.
Yep. Well, I think TSG Multimedia did a nice tour of it. So with him. But the magazine lives on, so hopefully that will continue his legacy. And I was very sad to hear about Brian. That was another member who's contributed to the club, to the community, to the PCR, and I know he's very proud of the layout that they built in the N scale layout. So I think actually we have Dave here. Dave worked very closely with Brian on the N scale layout and other projects through the years. So Dave, do you know if there's going to be a memorial service?
Yeah, Phil, Ellen is planning to have a ceremony of Brian's life, but she was going to put it off until maybe September.
Okay.
So there's a group of us helping Ellen with all of Brian's model railroad equipment and getting them all prepared for ultimate new owners.
Good. Yeah, that was sad to hear. I know he was having a lot of challenges after his surgery, so, and I know Ellen was probably pretty much overwhelmed by that.
She's got a lot on her plate right now.
Yeah. Somber, sorry guys. That's the way of the world. So nobody had any good, exciting modeling this month. Now, so the thought process, by the way, with the modeling on the coast, and I don't know, I guess there's a question to the group generally. I kind of wanted to thank Earl, even though he got off here very quickly. So my thought looking at the calendar was to think about August 22nd to do another one of these. But what we need to do is everybody needs to contribute. So, the question is, because everybody who's here, can you contribute next time? Because that way we'll have more of a program. So 3 pictures, that's all it is. Anyway,
I'm gonna poke at you, Phil. I think personally, I think modeling on the coast is a fabulous activity. And the last one, I learned a great deal about our friends here and the people that submitted just to see their quality and what they do. I think that we need to push people, make a phone, because you could have called me and said, or emailed me and said, we don't have a lot of people, show something. I've got so much crap going on. I could find 3 slides easy enough, type of thing to fill it out. But
yeah,
I think we have to do. You sent out emails and that sort of stuff.
emails that really need submissions and nobody responds to it. So,
I know, and
I
don't want to see this die.
Going and begging individually every time gets to be a bit much to think about. So, I don't think about it as one time. If you try to do it every 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, that means you're doing it 6 times a year. You're calling and begging for people to participate. And, quite frankly,
hey, I understand.
Yeah, I think if people don't want of their own volition see an email and say, oh, I'm going to go to this. Well, gee, I've gone once now. This time maybe I should send something in. I mean, like I said, everybody's got something they've modeled that's interesting.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not picking on you, Phil. You did a fabulous job.
I apologize for pushing back, but it really is kind of a question for me.
Yeah.
Well, in the spirit of that, how about if I share what I've been working on? I would
go for it. Absolutely.
The first thing I'm going to say is I might have submitted something, but I started a new job at Agility Robotics and I onboarded up in Salem this last week and I'm back down. I'm super psyched for a variety of reasons, but this also means a big shot in the arm for the train budget. So what I've been working on is a sectional hand laid NN3 layout. And I don't have the whole thing, but the part of it that I've done already that I think I've showed people, this is basically a 12-inch NN3 modular sectional track. The bolt holes are slightly, I use a 832 screws and slightly larger holes, and that lets me line everything up perfectly without rail joiners. And so part of the premise of doing this is that I did an oval first with two of these and two 9-inch 180-degree curves. And so the next thing that I need to do, obviously, is to build a switch that's 12 inches long that drops into the place of this on one side of the oval, and this becomes a spur. So this is where I'm at right now. So you can't really, let's see, the bridle actually has a filed brass piece that's almost the entire length of the throw bar out of 16 thousandths brass with that little hole in it. So I'm not relying on a hole in the middle of the tie bar to move the tie bar. I have a piece of brass that's glued to the bottom of the printed circuit board tie. And then the printed circuit board tie has code 55 rail joiners soldered to it, and those secure the rails. So that's what I built 3 jigs to make what I have here so far. And then I have a little mounting pad with screws on it where I'm going to mount the switch mechanism on that underneath, and I'm going to center the switch mechanism exactly where it needs to be by moving it and then securing it with those studs that stick up. So that's what I've been working on.
It is always astounding to me to see the work you do in a scale that I can't even see both rails, let alone one.
Yeah. So that gotta hold on. Sorry.
I'm waiting to see ZN3. The operational perspectives are huge, but uncoupling is a challenge.
It's all right.
Now, ZN3 would have to be single
I
rail,
think I'm going to make cows.
monorail.
ZN3, the monorail of monorailroads.
Now, I model an NN3 and HON3, but the NN3 it's a challenge.
Yeah, no, it truly is.
But Fast Track's got the jigs for the turnouts and makes it nice. Code 40.
So the NN3 guys are all doing either 3D printed jigs, and somebody's doing CNC machine jigs, and I don't have it right there. Where is it? And I'm doing jigs made out of 20,000 styrene on top of plywood, glued with crazy glue. And I'm good with I don't have a the fancy machine tools, and I don't actually have a 3D printer. Although I have to admire, once he gets his jig right, he can flip it over and make a right and a left just the same. But I have to say that for somebody on a budget or somebody who wants to do something for laying track, jigs made out of styrene have worked astoundingly well. I did a small section just to see if it would work, because I thought I'd have to make a jig out of pieces of aluminum that I glued to a substrate so that it would withstand the soldering. But it turns out that I haven't ruined any of the jigs by soldering. So it's worked out pretty well. I'll say one other thing. the locomotive project is going to be to put.
I thought you
So this is
deferred that project.
This is a Rokahan shorty, right? So this is going to get a small DCC decoder and a box cab diesel shell. And Tom Knapp right now is redoing a video on how to do that because he decided that his previous videos didn't really show the electric motors that he wanted to use. So I'm going to try to be a crash test dummy. When he finishes his video, I'm going to put a DCC decoder on top of this. And then I'm going to put a little, it's a $13 printed shell at 3D printing. And then I'll have a motive power for about $50.
Yeah, the decoder's the most expensive part.
Yeah, maybe it's $60 because this was 30 with shipping. And the decoder's probably about 30, not including shipping. Right? So, but that's and I need different couplers because these have the weird Rokuhan couplers, and I'll put on different couplers. And then 3 has moved away from Katie couplers to, I think they're called Amazing. They make some N-scale couplers. They couple better, and nobody's using magnetic uncoupling in NN3. So there was no need to stick with Katie. I don't remember the exact brand name of the couplers, but I'm going to buy some for this, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, the only drawback of those is they're not compatible with Katie couplers.
Yep. But since I have exactly one locomotive and one piece of rolling stock, I can manage it.
May I ask a question about modeling? I'm very naive and nowhere near as sophisticated as you guys are, but if we're done showing models, could I ask a question?
Certainly.
I'm modeling in N scale, and I don't understand how people get the tiny little print to put in windows of models or sides of cars or however. You know, my printer at home certainly won't print anything that small. I'm wondering how you do that.
So if you go there's 2 ways to do it. I mean, you can buy stuff that are pre-made decals for a lot of things. You can find them on the internet.
I've looked at those and none of them seem
the
right.
other way to do it is buy some decal paper.
Got that.
I recommend because Brian been recommended to me. There's Papa Tango. So Richard Brennan, who does professional decals and for TT West, and he has an Alps printer, so he can print white. He uses Papa Tango decal paper, and they're out right now, but I think they'll have more. So you can buy laser paper from them, and it costs about $1 a sheet. And so what you do is you buy that and you design your decal. And I use PowerPoint because I know PowerPoint. I've used it in business for years. Turns out PowerPoint is 300 dots per inch. So if you're going to do an 8.5 by 11 decal print, you make the slide then 22 or 44 inches tall, and 8.5 times either 2 or 4 wide, so either 17 or 34 wide. And if you make the decal if you make the slide that big, when you store it, it's 1200 DPI when you go to print it. So what you can do is you design your own decal. You find stuff on the internet, you put it on there. The only thing is you can't print white. But if you're printing on a window, white is just going to be clear, so you're going to see through it. And then you can print that decal out. What you do is you take the decal paper, go to your local, what used to be Kinko's, now they're generally FedEx office for that, and their printers are like 600 DPI laser printers.
Oh.
So if you go there, and what I do is I go to the self machines and then I look very confused. and they generally then will take it and run it on their machine for you and not charge the extra $1.50 they charge if you just take it and ask them to print it. But you just, for like $2.50, you give them your decal, you give them the PNG file, you save the slide as a PNG file. There's actually a video. If you go on the Coast YouTube channel, so go on YouTube and just go search for Coast Division NMRA, and you'll find the Coast Division YouTube channel. And if you go in there in the playlist, you'll see all the e-clinics. And one of the e-clinics is how to use PowerPoint in modeling. And that was one I did a while back. And it explains to you exactly how to do a decal using PowerPoint and having them printed locally. And they work out really well. The other thing you can do if you're doing it on buildings is you can actually put in blocks where you overlay the color you put in with white, with random colored blocks. And now you can make it look like the paint is faded. So, because you see what's behind through the decal. So like if you want to make a sign up to put on a wall of the brick building, you can make it as a decal and then see through it. But you just, the only thing, you can't do white as a background. You have to do, some other color.
That's how you did the decal on the side of your beet car.
Yeah, that was actually, now that one I had Richard do me a decal set, and it actually turns out it's a pretty big image. So here I'll share. This is actually a PDF of what that looks. So I had Richard, he does legal size. So this is a legal size decal that has all of the numbers I use. So the numbers on the side of the beat cars were these smaller numbers down here. There's some of these numbers down here.
Gotcha.
And then these are for box cars. I show you some pictures of these. I've actually done some cars now with this lettering. Worked out really well. These were actually done in PowerPoint and then imported as an object into Inkscape. And this whole thing was done in Inkscape because it gives you the vector graphics he needs for a printer. But yeah, when you convince him, you got to get him to get the printer set up for the white printing. But when he does that, it's great, to have him print you some decals. You can contact him. TT West is his company name.
GG West?
TT for TT scale.
Okay.
Richard's a TT scale motto, so capital T dash West.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I did dry transfers once before, and the problem with the dry transfers is you basically do the same thing. You design it in Inkscape, and there's a guy that I used a guy up in Vancouver. I think it's called Action Graphics, and basically what you do is you send him a sheet, a vector graphic sheet, and then he goes through a two-step process. He generates an image, a film image, and then he generates you the dry transfers. They're really high quality, but it ends up being about $150 to do a sheet. That's 150 Canadian. So it's really, $110 US. But it's still pretty expensive. So I did a deal and got him. I got him from Richard, and he using that Papa Tango paper. It's very thin, and you hit it and it melds down. I'll take some pictures next time we get together. I'll show you some pictures of the box cars I did. They've come out pretty well. So
great. I've got a whole little village, and none of the stores have any names on them or anything yet.
Yeah, like I said, that I have found that works really well. The doing the decals in PowerPoint. But if you've got another drawing package, you can use just about any drawing package.
I don't have one, but I'll probably get PowerPoint just to play with it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, there are lots of other things, other ways you can do drawings, but Inkscape's the other one that is a free version of kind of a the oh come on the Illustrator package. So anybody else got any interesting modeling or interesting commentary?
I could show you what I have done. I feel
Absolutely.
really naive among you guys. I'm new at
No, no,
this.
John, camera like you did for me at the beginning, and just show us your layout. This is marvelous to see. Just walk in there. Don't worry about setting up.
Okay, we'll do that.
I was very impressed with what you could do when you're home with COVID in N scale.
Can you see this now?
Yes, absolutely. Very nice.
I'm naive about this because I'd never seen anybody else's layout, nor has any model railroader seen this. I tried to make it like Pennsylvania, where I grew up, a little town called Brookville, where I grew up. There's an Amish farm.
Oh,
That looks really nice.
very nice.
Very nice.
Here's my river with a and the coal industry, of course, in Pennsylvania. I've got a mine here and a strip mine. Of course, they wouldn't be near each other in reality, but space didn't allow things. Here's my yard. Here's oil. Here's my engine facility. And some of this you'll notice I did things I don't know about operations, so I did some strange things like I have two water towers and which wouldn't exist right next to the Ohio River. And here's my
Oh,
This is very impressive.
you're very modest, John.
well, that's it. Well, thank you. It's nobody. You're the first guys to see it that have anything to do with model railroading.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really quite impressive.
Thank you.
That was very cool. So you're kind of at this interesting point. So John, where do you live? Just out of curiosity.
San Francisco. I'm
So
in
yeah,
Corvallis.
next time we have an event somewhere that's up close to there, we should have you be open and have people be able to come by and see your layout. I mean,
I'd be happy to do that. I feel really naive. I've never, I didn't see any layouts before I did this. I've just been reading books and magazines and trying to do things, and I didn't think about operations because I didn't even know that existed. I was really trying to do something that was aesthetically pleasing to me, that
yeah.
would have to have trains running around it.
Well, John,
Um,
your reading comprehension is excellent.
But yeah, no, I think I think that's one of the beauties of being an NMRA member and being part of the community is, you get to see other people's layouts, but people come see your layout, and both you get feedback, but also you get people saying, "Wow, that's cool, good job there with that," and that's good feedback. One of the other things is I don't know if you've talked to Jesse, but it would be really good to go ahead and get a Golden Spike Award.
Mm.
Because if you haven't
what's
done
a,
that, you definitely will be qualified for that with what you built.
I don't know what a Golden Spike Award is.
Ah,
John,
Well, let me turn you over to Jesse and let Jesse tell you.
yeah, John, I will not take a lot of time, but I'm going to put my email up in the chat, and then you can copy it down. And if you're interested, really give me a, you know, just send me a note, and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Golden Spike is an award from the NMRA, that you've actually accomplished a set of things about building a basic layout. And so you have to have built some structures, you have to build some cars, you have to have the ability to run 2 trains. It's not hard to do. You can basically do a little video, take some pictures and do a video and then submit it. And Earl, who is here, is our AP chair. So basically he does judging or has somebody else do a judging, and then you get a certificate and it says you've gotten a golden spike. So it's kind of cool. The AP program is a great way to kind of challenge yourself. That's like I said about the certificate for the cars, is basically, with an AP certificate, the way it works is if you look at each one of the categories, basically they have a set of requirements that you have to meet. So for cars, you have to have built 12 cars. Some of them have to be scratch built. Some of them have to be judged. They have to be qualified at, the 87.5 points out of 125. And then if you've done that, you get an AP certificate for cars. And so each one of them, whether it's structures or electrical or whatever, has a set of requirements. So, what's cool about it is one of the challenges in model railroading sometimes is you end up, because it's fun, just focusing on your comfort zone. And so one of the nice things about the AP certificate, it kind of forces you to get out of your comfort zone. Do things like volunteering, build something, if you're a structure person, build cars that you probably wouldn't have focused on very much because structures are more interesting to you. So,
the whole thing's been really fun. The biggest mistake I made is when I made all my models, I didn't paint the insides of the plastic black. And when I started illuminating things, which I didn't think I was going to do, everything glows. And so trying to paint black inside existing models is difficult or impossible.
That's one of those things.
Hey, John, I'm an auxiliary Golden Spike judge. So we'll talk about what is required versus for a Golden Spike versus what is required for an AP certificate. And I don't want to say AP certificates are apples and oranges, really very involved. Golden Spike Award sort of gets you focused on a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of something else to build a skill level, and then it's recognized. Then if you say, wow, I love building cars, of which you only need a few for the Golden Spike. For the AP certificate, you got to really knock yourself out, but you get a lot of good detail and you learned a lot, etc. So, as I say, drop me a note and hopefully it'll get to me, and I will get back to you and we'll talk about that. Okay?
Yeah, Jesse, your address popped up for a second, but was too fast for me to write down. Try me again.
It's on this chat.
Click on chat in the bottom of the screen. See where it says chat down at the bottom of the screen? Click on chat and it'll open up at the side on the right, and it'll be there and you'll be able to see it.
You'll find that I'm 84, number one.
But if you look at the bottom of the Zoom screen, if you see where all of our pictures are, look at the bottom of the screen. See where it says chat?
No, I don't have that. I'm on, all I can see is you and a little part of myself up in the right-hand corner. So I'm not in the same view that I guess
I don't want to say this because I hate to have you send your email address out to the whole universe
I'll give you my email address. I don't
Tell me
care.
what it is.
It's J Unger, Jungar,
Yeah.
at Mindspring, MINDSPRING.com.
John J. Unger.
Yeah.
Okay. J. Unger at Mindspring.
.com.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll drop you a note, and God willing, between the two of us, we'll be able to talk to each other.
Thank you. You guys will begin to realize that I'm the least technical of all of you. So from there we'll go.
Well, do not use Phil as your model. He is the most frighteningly technical person I know. He's
Well, thank you very
absolutely
much for the help.
wonderful.
Well, thank you for the help.
Yeah.
So we should call it so everybody can jump in their cars and drive to Bob Brown's. And so hang on, I was going to show just because this I don't know if we'll get hang on, let me see. I got to get the right picture up here. So you guys should be seeing a picture there of this is from Bob's house. This was the large scale room. There's just all sorts of interesting stuff. This was another room. There's actually a wall over here with kits on it, and a lot of them, these are a lot of HO structures. So different HO kits, more HO. Like I said, if you're interested in a steel warehouse, there's all the pieces there of the steel warehouse we just saw that are pretty amazing to build, I think. And there's one of these that's actually built as well.
Those things are expensive. My steel mill for N scale, my blast furnace cost me almost $400.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
they're probably pretty expensive. So I was going to do, these were some structures here. See if I can put this up over here. There were some structures.
Wow.
That actually I had one other one here. Let me see.
Hey, John, check your emails. I sent you a test.
Let me see here.
Yeah, so these were basically some of the buildings. There's a whole bunch of structures. There were probably, I don't know, 100 structures to start with. Maybe 75 to 100 structures. They're all, O-scale structures. A lot of them are small. So anyway, well, I think I'm going to call it for today, and pass this off if someone else wants to take over, or we'll call it for a Saturday morning, and we'll plan on getting together. Now, 2 weeks from now, we won't be getting together because that's the weekend of the auction. So I figure one event is probably enough. So we'll just do the auction on the 28th, and we will not have one of these on the 27th. So the next one will be the one in July, which I don't know the exact date of, but what is it? The 1st of July. So I guess we're scheduled for
11th.
Yeah, the 11th. Is that right? The
Yeah,
11th of
it's
July.
the 11th.
Yep. Yeah, July 11th will be our next get together. So we will see everyone at the auction. And if you can volunteer, send me an email, reply to the Coast Extra and say, hey, I'm willing to volunteer. We need people to do a few different roles there. Auctioneer roles, but also we need, like I said, someone to come and start about 10 o'clock handing out bidder card numbers. And if you want to come, you've got to get a new bidders card. Look in the Coast Extra. to make sure you've got a bidder or seller number if you're going to come and bid and sell. There'll be some interesting things there. Anyway, everybody have a great week, and we will see you in 2 weeks at the auction. Adios. Good evening.
Did you get it,
Bye-bye.
John?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, I did get it and I appreciate it.
Take care, all.
Take care. Bye now.